Details in the death of Nolan Wells, where investigators say the 18-year-old went missing on July 4th and spent the day drinking heavily. Now, that is coming from a document that was obtained by ABC News through a public records request. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources compiled a brief list of information about Wells, and one of the first agencies to respond was them. The document said it was unknown what Wells had eaten that day, but described his alcohol intake as heavy. A private autopsy also ruled his cause and manner of death undetermined with the official autopsy.
Some crimes make headlines. Others leave behind questions that refuse to die. Welcome to True Crime Exposure, where we uncover the evidence, examine the courtroom moments, and piece together the stories that continue to captivate the world. Every detail matters. Every decision has consequences. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a review if you enjoy deep dive investigative content. What's a case you think deserves a second look? Let us know in the comments below. If you're ready to look beyond the headlines, let's begin. On July 6, 2026, the sun-drenched white sands of Horn Island, Mississippi, became the backdrop for every parent's worst nightmare. 18-year-old Nolan Wells, a vibrant college athlete full of promise and laughter, had vanished 2 days earlier during a 4th of July boat trip with friends. When his body was finally recovered from the coastal waters, local authorities rushed to label the tragedy an accidental drowning, assuring the public that no foul play was suspected. But when a grieving family refused to accept a hasty narrative and fought for an independent second autopsy, the physical truth returned with a revelation that sent shockwaves across the nation. When board-certified forensic pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell examined Nolan's body, he uncovered something baffling and deeply disturbing. The critical anterior neck structures, including the hyoid bone, the thyroid horn, the trachea, and the laryngeal cartilage, were completely missing from the body sent by the state medical examiner. Without those vital bones and tissues, it was impossible to determine whether Nolan had suffered fatal throat trauma, strangulation, or neck compression before entering the water.
Said the throat was not with the body of Nolan Wells when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation. Remember, it's about transparency.
Layered on top of that was an unexplained dark red discoloration in the soft tissue at the back of Nolan's head, a finding never noted in the state's original examination.
Preliminary findings, and this is significant. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time.
In an instant, what was presented as an open and shut accident disintegrated into an unexplainable forensic mystery, proving that the official explanation given to a grieving family couldn't survive contact with its own physical details. Welcome back to True Crime Exposure. If you are following this unfolding case and want to ensure every story receives the rigorous, factual scrutiny it deserves, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button, leave a like on this video, share it with others, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a deep dive into unresolved justice. Drop the word file in the comments below as we begin this breakdown. Nolan was a gifted young man whose infectious personality brought light into every room he entered. His parents, Christine and Elmore Wells, had raised him with care, guiding him through high school athletics and supporting his journey into college football. To his teammates, coaches, and family, Nolan was not only a skilled athlete, but a dependable, loyal friend who loved to make people laugh. Crucially, Nolan was also an accomplished swimmer, a fact confirmed by his family, his coaches, and everyone who grew up alongside him. He was not a stranger to the water, nor was he someone who would casually succumb to the gentle tides of a crowded holiday beach where hundreds of people were celebrating within arm's reach. The journey to Horn Island began like any other summer holiday. According to GPS data later retrieved from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the boat carrying Nolan and a group of his peers departed the dock at precisely 9:56 in the morning, arriving at the barrier island by 11:14. The island was alive with holiday revelers, boats anchored close to the shoreline, and loud music ringing out across the Gulf waters. Witnesses recall Nolan mingling, laughing, and enjoying the sun, moving seamlessly through conversations with friends and new acquaintances alike. Yet underneath the casual atmosphere of that holiday outing, small inconsistencies and unaddressed tensions were already quietly taking shape, threads of time and intention that, hours later, would unravel completely. As the afternoon sun began its slow descent over Horn Island, the festive atmosphere started to fracture into confusion and conflicting accounts. By 3:00 p.m., the final confirmed sighting of Nolan alive placed him on the shoreline. Around that very same hour, a call was placed from aboard his group's boat reporting that the vessel was taking on water and urgently required towing assistance. A call verified by real-time dispatch audio logged hours before anyone realized Nolan was missing.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yep, I just need you to answer these questions so I can get you over to the captain.
Okay.
How many
what's
adults
going
on board?
What's up? There are 0 adults on board.
There's nobody on board the boat?
No. Nobody
right.
here is over the age of 21.
Sir, that was not the question. Is there a person? Is there a person, a living individual on the boat?
Hello?
Is there a living person, someone breathing on the boat? Is there anybody on the boat?
Yes, there's lots of people breathing on the boat.
All right, how many people, sir?
Like 7.
All right, thank you. Does everyone have life jackets on or available to them?
Yes, we have life jackets available.
All right, verify what boat's sinking.
A Triton, 22-foot offshore, 22-foot Triton offshore sea flight hull.
All right.
The vessel ultimately departed Horn Island at 4:31 p.m., returning to the mainland dock at 5:44 p.m. It was during that critical 90-minute window between 3:00 p.m. and 4:31 p.m. that the narrative surrounding Nolan's whereabouts began to split into two irreconcilable stories. The friend group aboard the boat claimed that Nolan chose to stay behind on the island intentionally, wanting to continue talking to a young woman he had just met named Katie, and that he planned to catch a ride back to the mainland later with someone else. However, when Katie was later interviewed, her direct account relayed through her mother told the exact opposite story. Nolan had told her face-to-face that he was heading back to rejoin his own group and board their boat. Katie never actually witnessed Nolan get on that vessel, but Nolan's stated intention to her contradicted the story told by those on the boat. Then came the baffling issue of Nolan's cell phone. A member of the friend group put on the record that nobody in their group swims with a phone on their person. Instead, everyone routinely left their devices on the boat's dashboard to protect them from saltwater damage, accounting for roughly 15 phones left aboard that day.
And I mean, there was more than just Nolan's phone that wasn't on the boat with us.
It was more. It was more than just Nolan's phone that was on the boat.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously had all our phones, but on the boat. But those weren't the only people. Like Nolan wasn't the only person that left a phone on the boat. There was a lot of people that left phones on the boat.
While that explains why a phone stays dry during a swim, it completely fails the test of basic logic if Nolan had chosen to stay behind. If Nolan genuinely intended to remain on Horn Island and coordinate a ride home with strangers or another group, his cell phone was his only lifeline, his tool to call his mother, contact a ride, or navigate his way back. Leaving his phone on a vessel that was permanently departing the island for the day aligns with someone planning to leave on that boat, not someone choosing to stay behind. Conversely, if Katie's account was correct and Nolan was trying to get back to the boat, it leaves an even darker question. How did his phone leave the island on that vessel without him? The mystery surrounding Nolan Wells deepened significantly when his physical remains were recovered, raising immediate red flags for experienced searchers and investigators. When the volunteer search team from the United Cajun Navy located Nolan's body face down in the coastal waters, he was found fully clothed. Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lynn confirmed that the swimsuit on his body matched what he had been photographed wearing earlier that afternoon, but accounts from the recovery team noted he was retrieved wearing a shirt as well. In typical accidental drowning cases, the turbulent pull of currents or the physical act of swimming often strips or displaces loose clothing, or victims are found in minimal swim gear. A body recovered fully dressed points far more convincingly towards someone dressed for departure, someone standing on the threshold of leaving the island, rather than an active swimmer caught by an unexpected tide. This detail sits in stark, uncomfortable contrast to the initial, rapid assessment handed down by local authorities. Within an hour of Nolan's body being brought to shore, before a comprehensive forensic examination or detailed timeline reconstruction could take place, public statements were released declaring the death an accidental drowning and asserting that no foul play was suspected. For Christine and Elmore Wells, that immediate declaration felt like a door slamming shut on the truth. How could a conclusion be reached so swiftly when basic logic problems remained completely unaddressed? Frustrated by the sudden rush to judgment and driven by an overwhelming need for real answers, Nolan's family sought the assistance of civil rights attorney Ben Crump and secured independent support to seek a second opinion. Prominent figures stepped in to ensure a thorough investigation could take place, with national figures helping fund an independent forensic examination. Nolan's body was transported over 1,000 miles away to Washington, D.C., placing the forensic evaluation in the hands of Dr. Roger Mitchell, a renowned, board-certified forensic pathologist, former chief medical examiner of Washington, D.C., and president of the National Medical Association. The family was not searching for a tailored conclusion. They were seeking an exhaustive, unvarnished truth that only an independent scientific review could provide. When Dr. Roger Mitchell conducted the second independent autopsy on July 10, 2026, he was forced to navigate the severe limitations of an examination performed days after the initial state procedure and following significant natural decomposition. Yet, despite those physical hurdles, his forensic findings immediately disrupted the official narrative of an ordinary, unforced drowning. The most alarming discovery in Dr. Mitchell's report centered on what was absent from the body. When Nolan's remains arrived for the second autopsy, the crucial internal structures of his anterior neck, specifically the hyoid bone, the thyroid horn, the trachea, and the laryngeal cartilage, were completely missing.
Said the throat was not with the body of Nolan Wells when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete.
While medical examiners occasionally retain neck organs during an initial examination to perform further testing for suspected trauma, no explanation was provided as to why Mississippi authorities held these vital structures back without forwarding them to the independent examiner. Because these specific bones and cartilages are the primary physical indicators of fatal strangulation, manual neck compression, or blunt force trauma to the throat, Dr. Mitchell noted directly on the official record that without them, he could not rule out neck injury as a contributing factor or direct cause of Nolan's death. Equally troubling was a distinct 12 × 8 cm area of deep red discoloration discovered in the soft tissue at the back of Nolan's head, directly over the occipital region.
He says, however, dissection of the back of the head during the layered posterior neck dissection revealed a 12 by 8 inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissues overlaying the occipital bone. And
Dr. Mitchell noted that this specific discoloration had not been documented or dissected during the state's preliminary autopsy. While extensive decomposition prevented him from definitively classifying it as a pre-mortem blunt force injury on its own, he highlighted the finding as highly significant, raising crucial questions about whether Nolan had suffered a blow to the head before entering the water, trauma that could have rendered him unconscious or incapacitated before he ever reached the tide. These findings culminated in a formal cause and manner of death listed as undetermined pending further investigation. Dr. Mitchell outlined a strict checklist of unresolved questions, including whether water was actually present in Nolan's lungs, what the stomach contents revealed about his timeline, and what the long-delayed state and independent toxicology reports would uncover. Far from confirming an accidental fall, the independent autopsy established that the physical evidence left open the distinct possibility of intervening, non-accidental factors, proving that the original cause of death handed to the Wells family was fundamentally incomplete. The physical evidence was not the only element requiring strict scrutiny. The digital record and official communication timeline surrounding Nolan's disappearance revealed staggering gaps. When Nolan's mother, Christine Wells, managed to regain physical possession of her son's cell phone after an agonizing wait on the night he vanished, the device presented a troubling blank slate. Both of Nolan's Snapchat accounts were completely empty, containing no saved photos, videos, or messages from the holiday outing, despite his well-known habit of documenting social events. Multiple text threads had also been removed. To address these anomalies, the family's legal team secured a joint phone inspection agreement, allowing an independent forensic expert to sit in the same room alongside law enforcement technicians to monitor the data extraction process in real time, ensuring that deleted location pings, background app data, and missing messages could be recovered without solitary oversight. During a national press conference held at the NAACP National Convention, civil rights attorney Ben Crump highlighted the troubling parallels between Nolan's case and other recent incidents across the country. Crump cited on the record the case of 18-year-old Daniel Irvings, who drowned during a fishing trip while accompanied by two acquaintances who subsequently disposed of his cell phone, discarded his clothing, and erased their digital communications before being charged with evidence tampering. He further referenced the case of 18-year-old Tyler Smith, who died from a gunshot wound at a 4th of July gathering where surviving witnesses claimed the incident occurred during a game of Russian roulette, leading authorities to skip initial gunshot residue testing under the assumption that all participants would test positive. Crump presented these accounts on the public record to argue that preliminary official conclusions in cases involving young black men often require intense, independent scrutiny before the full truth is brought to light. The systemic response from local authorities in the immediate aftermath of Nolan's disappearance added to the family's deep distress. Christine Wells revealed that her primary communication with the local sheriff's department only occurred because she initiated contact via text message days after the search began. Despite promises from local officials that the investigation would be handled with the utmost diligence, the swift, unverified declaration of an accidental drowning made within an hour of body recovery established a public narrative that proved difficult to undo. Supported by national figures, a growing tip line, and a reward fund reaching $125,000, the family continues to push for a complete presentation of Dr. Mitchell's findings before a grand jury, determined to ensure every missing record, digital trace, and forensic detail is thoroughly examined in the relentless pursuit of justice. The legal battle moved from the quiet examination rooms of Washington, D.C., directly into the public square as national civil rights organizations rallied behind the Wells family. Standing before national media, leaders and legal representatives laid out a stark critique of the procedural missteps that marred the initial days of the inquiry. The decision by local law enforcement to publicly rule out foul play before toxicology reports, phone extractions, or detailed witness statements were finalized created an immediate narrative bias. In a case where every piece of circumstantial evidence, from the missing neck structures to the unreturned cell phone, pointed toward unresolved questions, that premature rush to close the book left the family with no choice but to demand higher accountability. Central to the legal team's strategy was a direct appeal to the district attorney and local prosecutors to present the full, unvarnished findings to a grand jury. Attorney Ben Crump emphasized that an independent presentation must include testimony from Dr. Roger Mitchell, allowing a jury of peers to review the missing anterior neck tissue, the unexplained occipital discoloration, and the conflicting timeline of Nolan's final hours. The family's attorneys argued that justice could not be served if state authorities relied solely on an initial, incomplete autopsy report, while ignoring the physical anomalies flagged by a nationally recognized forensic pathologist. Simultaneously, the legal team focused on expanding the scope of physical and digital evidence through community involvement. With the private reward fund surging to $125,000, boosted by donations from public figures and anonymous supporters, a dedicated tip line began receiving hundreds of submissions. Investigators and independent analysts began sifting through crowdsourced photos, private text messages, and raw video footage taken by holidaygoers on Horn Island that afternoon. The objective was clear: systematically reconstruct the 90-minute window between 3:00 p.m. and 4:31 p.m., matching individual video frames with GPS data to trace Nolan's movements, identify every individual in his vicinity, and verify who was holding his cell phone when the boat pulled away from the shore. As the setting sun casts a quiet shadow over the Gulf waters of Horn Island, the unanswered questions surrounding the loss of Nolan Xavier Wells continue to echo far beyond the shoreline. What began as a bright 4th of July holiday ended in an agonizing nightmare for a family forced to fight for the basic dignity of a complete, honest investigation. From the baffling logic of a cell phone that left the island without its owner, to a body recovered fully clothed, to the missing neck structures and unexplained soft tissue trauma revealed by an independent autopsy, every single detail in this case refuses to settle neatly into the narrative of a simple, accidental drowning. Nolan was a young man full of life, promise, and light, a gifted athlete and a beloved son whose story demands the highest standard of truth and accountability. His mother, Christine, and his father, Elmore, refused to let their son's name become just another forgotten statistic or a prematurely closed case file. As community support grows, tip lines fill, and legal teams push to bring these independent forensic findings before a grand jury, the fight for Nolan Wells remains active, urgent, and unresolved. When official explanations crumble under the weight of missing evidence and glaring logic gaps, How far must a family go to uncover the truth about what really happened to their child on that island? If you believe that every victim deserves a complete, transparent, and unbiased investigation, please take a moment to like this video, share it to spread awareness, and subscribe to True Crime Exposure. Make sure to turn on all notifications so you never miss an update on this case or others like it. Thank you for watching and stay vigilant.